RJ Choppy is thinking that the Dallas Cowboys may finally be a team of destiny with the curse of Jimmy broken.
Yes, the curse of Jimmy is broken, and perhaps that this is a sign that things could be turning the corner. Here's what happened. This happened on First Take. All right. This happened on First Take where Stephen A. Smith and company were lamenting that things are just starting to get a little bit lucky. The Cowboys are starting to get the breaks.
I mean, I'm just disgusted with what happened. Dallas with their lucky selves and what have you. But, I mean, it was appropriate because Jimmy Johnson was inducted into the Ring of Honor finally. Yeah. And maybe that's something that's going to contribute to this curse being lifted. Where they'll finally get to a conference.
Good karma thing?
It's the first time I felt that the Dallas Cowboys got good karma coming their way in the last 28 years. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. Lucky them. But luck is definitely a significant part of the equation. I don't want to hear what anybody says. Their schedule, the teams they beat, and then this call when you lose the game and it's given to you, and now you end the season with a gimme, which is the Washington, not the Commodores with Lionel Richie, not the Commodores, the Washington Commanders. That's how you ended your season. I mean, my Lord, how lucky can you be? Please.
So, got me thinking, because they were asking, are they lucky or good? And I'm like, well, maybe this thing's actually turning the corner here. So, just go back to the last few weeks. And how many things had to break right for the Cowboys to be in this position? They had to hit their worst stretch of the season, Buffalo and Miami, against AFC teams, which don't count towards any divisional tiebreakers. If they took those same two losses and put them against NFC teams, they're not in. They don't win. They don't win. They don't have the tiebreaker with Detroit. Well, they do what they would with Detroit because they're head-to-head, but different with Philadelphia.
It's like the third or fourth tiebreaker because it can be common opponents, but
right.
it's down the list a little.
So it's down the list. They needed to lose AFC games on NFC. Then they needed the Eagles to lose games they were favored by 5.5, 6.5, and 12.5.
Great job, Vegas.
That was Seattle, Arizona, and who else?
It was.
Come on, Bobby. I know you got Philly's losses tattooed on your lower back. What is it?
They lost to San Francisco, Dallas, Seattle, and Arizona.
Yeah, they were 6.5 to San Fran.
Favorite?
No, I'm sorry. There was one of the.
They beat the Giants. They had
Giants.
that game. They beat the Giants.
It was the Jets game. The Jets game. 6.5. They were Jets. Right. They needed a crazy finish to their game with the Lions. A gift by the officials, and then for the Lions to fail and continue the 2-point conversion attempt on from the 7-yard line, and then continue it again from the 3.5-yard line. And they also had to avoid overtime in case Campbell elected to kick, which the game could have ended in a tie. It could have ended in a loss. I mean, any number of things could have happened that would have impacted that. They also needed Detroit to miss out on 3 points earlier in the game by going for it from the 5-yard line on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal, which if they did, they would have won the game. It's all shaping up. Now they're the 2 seed. Now they avoid San Fran until the NFC Championship game. They ain't losing at home. This team's not going to lose a game at home. They're in. They're in the Mike McCarthy's job is safe.
They're safe.
They're in the NFC Championship.
Woo!
Their job is safe. They don't have to worry about it. I mean, they're not going to lose to Green Bay at home. I mean, that's a.
Could you imagine if they did?
The curse.
Oh my God!
And that ends McCarthy.
That would Packers. That would end it. But like
his former team.
If you go look, like you need to get favorable scheduling breaks in the postseason. Yeah. You need to get the NFC South or the AFC South winner versus the Miami. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like you gotta get if you're the
Rangers run.
Rangers run. You go up against you miss out on Houston until the ALCS instead of having to play them in a 5-game series.
No Dodgers.
Play them in a 3.
No Phillies.
No Dodgers. No Phillies. No Braves.
But they had a tough run early on. They did not get breaks with Baltimore and Tampa, and then Houston.
Yeah, but you're facing a Tampa team that doesn't necessarily ever win in the postseason, and Baltimore, who had never been there either, just like you, but they were even younger because at least you had Seager, who had been in that position. At least you had Evaldi and Montgomery, who had been in the postseason. Baltimore was a whole team full of guys who had never been there. Ever been there. And Detroit is that team. Now, Goff's been there. But, I mean, who else of that team has ever sniffed a playoff?
Not without McVay in his ear, he hasn't.
Yeah.
Sure, I know. And he's actually better now without that little twerp in his ear.
So the question is, Cowboys been more lucky than good at 877-881-1053. Tolo Trey. Stephen A. didn't mention luck one time when the Eagles won versus Kansas City with the Chiefs wideouts dropping everything, or Buffalo miscommunication, or the Eagles finishing the season with the Giants twice in Arizona. Emoji question. So that's Tolo Trey. Roberto, what do you say to this?
I think that the Cowboys are 11-5, and they should be exactly 11-5. Like, I think there's actually such little luck with the Cowboys in either direction. Like, oh, they've been real bad victims of bad luck, or they've gotten like really fortunate in this area. They are exactly like I think if you look at the outcomes of the games, maybe you flip a loss here and say that should have been a win. You should have beat that team, or you flip this one and say that shouldn't have been a victory. That should have been a loss. But either way, it comes out to 11-5. Like, I think the margins are so. I don't think there are these like really narrow margins that say, man, this team's just a couple bounces away from being 500, or this team's a couple bounces away from being undefeated. Like you talk about with Baltimore. Baltimore is a few bounces away from being 16-0 right now.
Yeah.
Dallas is 11-5. They are an 11-5 football team. So I think there's very little luck involved with them.
Maybe obviously the Arizona game. I mean, it could be a 13-4 team, but. I mean,
they deserve to lose against Arizona.
They did. But I think they pretty much are where they should be.
They deserve to beat Philly. They deserve to lose to Detroit. That's how I look at it.
Fair.
They got lucky with the Lions game, and they got lucky that the Eagles lost to Arizona. That's it. Nothing within the Cowboys season has been lucky. I totally agree. They are an 11-5 team. So you're going to get, out of 16 games, another team having a surprise win or a surprise loss. That's what took place with the Eagles in Arizona. The Seattle game was maybe a little bit lucky as well, although a lot of people had the Eagles losing that game because of the tornado of crap that they have been building up. So that's Stephen A. doing part of his bit. I'm so sick that they got lucky, blah, blah, blah. The Dallas Cowboys have not gotten lucky this year. They have dominated inferior opponents. That is part of, and that's a sign of a good team. The question remains, are they a great team after they almost just lost 3 in a row against opponents that are 500 or better? And we can have this discussion again once we see exactly how the playoff schedule breaks. If they get Green Bay in round 1, and then how would it be lining up for round 2?
It would be winner of Rams Detroit.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So if we get that leading up to San Fran, yes, that is some playoff schedule luck. That would be fantastic. But nothing about the Cowboys.
Well, I shouldn't say that. It would be Detroit if they win. It would be probably Philly or Tampa if the Rams win.
Yeah, if Detroit wins, they get the Lions. If the Rams
win, then
they get the 4
Cowboys.
or 5.
Hang on a second. If Detroit wins, the Cowboys get the Lions.
Yep.
If the Rams win,
then the Rams would go play the 49ers, and the Cowboys would get the winner of Philly Tampa.
Okay. So we can have that discussion down the road, but nothing about 11-5 and their record has been lucky.
Bring on Philly. Bring on Philly in the second round.
Bring on Tampa. Bring on Tampa.
Why? Tampa's a better football team right now.
Speaking of Lions fallout, anyone else in this room think of Mike McCarthy on Fridays while this clip was being played? This was Dan Campbell on 97.1 in Detroit, a sports station, 97.1. Not one who just conveniently talks about it when they need ratings and it benefits their narrative. This is Dan Campbell being asked and calling out these hosts when they asked him, you got any major regret going for 2 against the Cowboys?
I told our offense, I think I said this before, and we're going for the win. And we're going to go down, we're going to score, and we're going for 2. And I wasn't coming off of that.
So if it was like 10 or 15, like a holding penalty, you still would have gone for it?
No, if we're getting outside the 10, no.
Okay, that's why I'm asking.
Outside the 10 every week, good on good. We do it every week, O versus D.
Yeah, like when you got the penalty and moved it to
go ahead and say it. Say it, both of you.
What?
Say it. Say what you want to say.
I think from the 7, it's a low percentage play. I think your chances of winning are lower than if you kick the extra point.
I would like you would say it to anybody else. I'm on the radio. Say it like you want to say it.
Yeah. I thought it was a reckless decision.
Thank you.
Okay, but you don't regret it?
No.
Man.
Man Campbell.
I'll play for him any day. Like, you gotta be kidding me. That's amazing.
That's great, man. That is a secure individual. That's a real individual. And just saying, hey, just tell me. Just tell me. Now, a lot of times, we're going to see this now on the Detroit.com text line. Why don't you all just tell McCarthy? The way that there's a couple ways to approach the interview, in my opinion. You can say your opinion in the question, or just you're there to ask questions and that's it. Your job isn't to give your opinion to the interview subject. Jerry Jones, it's much more comfortable than Mike McCarthy being like, Jerry, I was doubting. Jerry, we thought it was a crazy decision. What do you say about that? Jerry, we did not agree. Jerry, this was the narrative. And you can say that stuff, in my opinion, much more comfortably to Jerry than McCarthy on Fridays. But I got a lot of respect for Dan Campbell saying, just go ahead and tell me. And he didn't fight back and challenge it back. He just said, I'm a dude who's secure. I understand it. I can take it. You're not going to change my mind. I still believe we made the right decision. But go ahead and just say what you want to say. I can take it. And okay, we can agree to disagree.
And I think like
mature.
That it's mature, and I think it buys him like credibility with the fan base, with the team, with the media. Like, look, I mean, if you disagree, that's fine. Like, I disagree with what you're saying, but just tell me. Like, be honest with me. If you don't like it, tell me you don't like it. And then I love the fact that he's telling the fans, don't fall into this trap that you think the NFL is against us.
Yep.
He didn't say that in that clip.
No, it was. I looked for it. I mean, I don't know.
He said it with media on Monday, where they had asked him, like, does it feel like the NFL's against you a little bit? And he immediately like shut them down. He's like, don't do that. Stop it. He's like, nope.
Yeah.
He said, look, the reality is the NFL's against all 32 teams. Like they're here to penalize you, and they're here to enforce rules. And he's like, I was in New Orleans when that pass interference no call happened in the NFC title game, so I know what that feels like. But no, you cannot live in that headspace where you think the NFL's against you, which would be nice to hear from the Cowboys, because at times the Cowboys will tell you. There's been quotes this year. I can't remember who said it. Somebody said, we're the Cowboys. We're used to them being against us.
Right.
That's the thought process. There's the difference in the mentality.